Hi guys, Grand J here, and welcome to our second part Union Force set review. In today's video, we'll be talking about the blue cards. We've previously done a video on the red card, so check in the description below for a link to that video if you haven't seen it. Otherwise, let's get started. So, the first card to talk about is the leader cards, Zamasu and Absolute God Fuse Zamasu. So, on the front side is activate main, choose one card in your life, place it in the drop area. If the card you placed in the drop area was blue, draw a card. So this isn't a particularly amazing skill. If anything, its only relevant ability is to simply get rid of cards from your life area and to get you close to activating. This card's relevant ability is probably to get itself from 3 life to 2 life, so you can flip. Because this card does have a certain weakness of if you are at 3 life, you can't you can't awaken. And that's another drawback to this card. You need to have 2 or less life to awaken this card. So there are going to be decks that are going to try to get triple strike and are going to try to push you from unawakened side to straight to death. So let's get on to the awakened side. So Absolute God Fuse Zamasu is if damage is inflicted to your life, place 5 cards from the top of your deck in the drop area instead. Brackets 10 cards if you receive 2 damage. Now, there hasn't been an exact ruling about whether triple strike and quadruple strike will make you mill like 15 or 20 cards off the top of your deck, respectively. It does mention only 5 and 10 cards for single and double strike. So I assume what it's going to be is that you lose 5 cards for each damage you would have taken. So this would probably be 15 damage for triple strike and so on. But yeah, who knows? Of course, when it attacks, draw a card. So this card, the main value of this card really is the fact that your leader is Zamasu, because there are certain cards such as the promo Beam Fuse Zamasu that are locked behind having a Zamasu as a leader. This technically looks like one of those decks that are going to be able to drag the game out, in the sense that because you don't take the last 2 life of your damage, there is a degree of safety to playing this leader, so you can just take an extra 3 or 4 life potentially worth of damage and still survive. Do note that in this game, if you do have 0 cards in your deck at any point, you do lose a game. So that is something to note. You don't get to finish your turn, or you don't go to the end of the turn, or you don't wait till you draw your next card before you lose. You lose as soon as you run out of all your cards in deck. So that is something to note. I'm not particularly impressed with this leader. People are going to run it simply because you're going to be needing it for certain Zamasu builds. But that being said, I don't particularly like this leader. Next, we have a very impressive leader, Trunks, Hope of the Future. So both on the front and the back side, during your turn, when you combo with a card that has an energy cost of 2 or more, draw 1 card. So this is any card with an energy cost of 2 or more, not combo cost of 2 or more. So that's something to know. So anything that's 2 or more, which is pretty much anything that isn't a 1 cost card, will be able to trigger this ability. So when you do combo, you draw a card. So basically, every one of your turns, you get effectively a free combo, in the sense that you can combo with a 2-cost card, draw a card, and most of those 2-cost and 3-cost cards that you will be comboing have 0 combo costs. So basically, it's like giving yourself plus 5,000, giving someone plus 5,000 power every turn during your turn, and it kind of just cycles you through cards. Again, typically like any leader, awaken at 4 life, and on the awaken side, the only other benefit it gets is that when this card attacks, draw 1 card. So this card, this leader actually seems really fun. I'm not sure of how particularly high his power level is. Definitely he's pretty good, but I don't know if it's going to be extremely good. Now, the way I see its ability is you can basically cycle through more cards. It allows you to get rid of cards that are not relevant or not useful to your current situation, to give a plus 5,000 boost, and to just cycle yourself through 1 card. So that's pretty handy within itself. Any sort of card that has additional abilities or combos when you additional abilities when you combo with them are going to be a big plus to this card. So for example, all the free cost battle cards that after you combo them from your hand, they come into play. This is going to be very relevant with those cards. Just basically you get a free card, you get to do a combo, and you also get to draw a card. Other cards such as Relentless Spirit Trunks is going to be really, really good as well with this card, as well as Boost Attack Piccolo is of course going to be very good with this card. So I think this leader is actually quite good. So I think this card will see quite a lot of play, especially any sort of Trunks, Vegeta, Goku type Save the Future sort of deck. So I think that this leader is quite good. It will see play. Next, we have Goku Black. So Goku Black on the front side has activate main once per turn. If you have 2 or more blue energy, choose one card in your life and place it in the energy area. At the end of your turn, choose one of your energy and place it into a drop area. So what's cool about this is that from your second turn onwards, you can basically convert a card from your life into energy temporarily for the turn, and then you get to burn the energy at the end of the turn. So this is actually really handy in two sort of in a couple of different ways. So first of all, it does allow you to awaken. So it prevents strategies where your opponent's just going to stall you at 5 life. You can always at any point during your turn use it to pull a card from your energy area and to be able to awaken. So you're not going to be able to stall. Secondly, it does give you certain ability to burst ramp in the sense that if you're on turn 4 or if you only have 4 energy, you can always jump yourself up to a 5 energy play by taking a card from your life. So that's really handy within itself. Some of the cards such as like Fuse the Masu or Goku Black Rose, these are really strong endgame finishers. So being able to reach those cards a turn earlier is actually going to be really handy. A thing to note though is when you awaken, you have a different ability. So like every awakened leader, you do draw a card when you attack, but during your turn, if you have 2 or less life, this card gains plus 5,000 power and double strike. So that's really strong. 20,000 double strike on a leader is actually really, really good. And we haven't seen too many other leaders with this combination before in the previous set. Captain Ginyu was one of them. And yeah, that was really really tough ability to deal with. This card, as long as you have 2 or less life, you don't have to like trigger any sort of life-taking ability. So as long as you're 2 or less, which is a pretty dangerous situation, it is a very potent ability. Now, I don't think that this ability is going to be triggered off too often, simply because I wouldn't want to be sitting at 2 life. Simply it means any sort of double strike abilities are all going to be leaf on you, and so you have to play very, very defensively in that regard. But definitely, I feel that in a situation, yeah, where you do happen to be low on life, it's a good way to apply extra pressure on your opponent. And if your opponent can't finish you off, they may opt to keep you at 3 life as opposed to 2 or 1 life, simply because they don't want to give you the chance to be able to swing back with 20k double strike. So do note that using Goku Black's front ability, you can only sort of pull energy from your life, pull life from your energy on the unawakened side, from the front side. Now, this is something relevant to note because it does add a little bit of strategy to playing Goku Black in that, let's say you're at 4 energy and it's your opponent's turn, and next turn you'll go up to 5 energy. If you pull an energy down, you can ramp up into a 6-cost card or something, right? If your opponent attacks you, you can opt not to awaken your leader and keep on the front side, wait for your turn, use the front side ability, and then pull an energy, then awaken. It's because you can't use the pull a life card to your energy on the awakened side. So there is a certain degree of strategy with that. This is definitely going to be one of those cards, I think, one of those leader cards that are going to be quite strong as soon as people figure out what's the best combination of what turns to spike on. My prediction of this card out there is going to be like an objection Whis sort of ramp deck, where you want to try to ramp to Goku Black Rose really, really early. I've done my theory crafting, and you can get Goku Black Rose out on your 4th turn, I believe. Yeah, so this card is going to be really strong. Being able to ramp energy with a leader inherently is actually really, really powerful. And yeah, so this card's going to require a lot of strategy and a lot of in-depth analysis to figure out how to most optimally play this deck. But I think once people figure out, this is going to be one of those like higher tier decks, kind of like how Tricolor Ginyu was a deck that wasn't really kind of figured out until quite late in the set 1 metagame. Next, we have the first of the actual battle cards itself. We have Determined Striker SSB Son Goku. So it's a 4-cost 20k. Interesting to note that it doesn't have double strike or any other sort of like keywords like that. Instead, it has counter attack. Play this card and negate the attack. So this card is most similar to a card like Whis or all those sort of 1-cost negate abilities. In addition, it's got an ability where when activating this card's counter, if you have 3 or less life, you may place 2 sand cards from your hand into your drop area. If you do, reduce the energy cost of this card by 3 for the duration of the turn. So what it's also saying is that, yeah, while you're at 3 or less life, you can discard 2 cards that are Saiyan to, yeah, make this effectively a Whis' Coercion, or, yeah, without the untap ability. So in that regard, you ask, there is kind of like a pro and con to this. So one is that you always have the option to always use this as a combo card, so one for 10,000, whereas like say a card like Whis' Coercion, you can't do that. In addition to this, yeah, it just gives you an extra set of counter and negate attacks if you don't want to play second color. So in earlier sets, I have found myself in situations where I want to play like say 6 or 7 or 8 negate attacks, but I didn't want to splice in the second color because it messes with your colors and so on. So this is a nice sort of like way to get around that. Although it's not a super great solution to that. Discarding 2 cards, especially when you're that low on life, is not a great thing. Not a lot of decks can really sort of spare those extra cards. Like probably Blue Vegeta's the only deck, minus a couple of others, that can really sort of afford that sort of stuff. Simply to be able to counter attack and to create a 20,000 battle card afterwards as well. Without Double Strike is kind of lackluster, and I think that's kind of what the biggest problem with this card is, that it doesn't have Double Strike. If it had Double Strike, I can definitely be on board and like completely support this card as being quite good or pretty good. But like right now, without any sort of Double Strike or Dual Attack or anything attached to it, I think it's a little bit lackluster, even with its ability to reduce its cost to 1. Next, we have Mighty Attack Son Goku. So it's a free cost 15,000 power battle card with critical. It is quite literally a vanilla copy of Assailant Vegeta from set 1, except it is Goku. Now, this is both good and bad because, well, I suppose it's just like straight up good, because now if you want to play a free cost 15 critical, you now have the choice between playing Goku or Vegeta. Now, there is certain cards that do support Goku more, just because there's more Goku support. So stuff like Kind Saiyan Goku can search for this Goku where he couldn't search for Vegeta. And if you just need a 15,000 critical attacker at free, then yeah, Goku or Vegeta are both interchangeable. If you want to really sort of build into that critical strategy, then you can run both as well. So you can run up to effectively 8 copies of them. And he's a Goku, so that means like, yeah, if there are certain cards where you need to use it for a Potara fusion or anything like that, then he's fine. Assailant Vegeta saw play. So effectively, this is just like another Assailant Vegeta. If Vegeta still sees play, then this will probably still see play, unless there's any sort of specific interaction where you need to evolve Vegeta or evolve Goku. But definitely, Goku seems to have more support than Vegeta, so if Vegeta saw play, I don't see why Son Goku won't. Next, we have Raging Spirit Son Gohan. So it's one of the set of cards from this set where it has, at the end of the battle, after you combo with this card from your hand, if your leader is blue, play this card in rest mode. So yeah, otherwise it's a free cost 15, so that's about, it's about on curve. Technically, you can get 2 cost 15s, and there seems to be a lot of 2 cost 15s. So if anything, it's a little bit under curve. So effectively, the trade-off is, if you play it normally, it's a free cost 15, which is like costly, or you can play it for cheap for 1 by comboing it for 1 for 10,000, and you get it put into a rest. So that's pretty handy as well. I compare this card with Frieza's Call. So you can use Frieza's Call as a 1 cost to get a 15,000 Sui or pool. In rest mode, this card effectively does the same thing, except it requires a combo, and you can combo at any point of the game. You can do it on your opponent's turn or do it on your own turn. So in that regard, this card is fine, but definitely you have to look at the specifics of each one of these cards. And now, this is a Son Gohan, but something to note that this is a Son Gohan Future. So it's not Son Gohan Adolescent. So this game does make a difference between Son Gohan Future and Son Gohan Adolescent. So you can't be using him as a card to evolve your other Son Gohan Adolescents and so on. So in that regard, there's not a lot of synergy from this card with a lot of other cards. The only card I can really see this synergizing with is the Trunks Leader, so Hope of Future, obviously, because when you combo with this card on your turn, you get to draw a card and you get to have the Son Gohan in play really cheaply. And effectively, what you just combo got plus 10,000 as well. So this card may see play in the future Trunks deck, depending on deck sizing, deck space, and sort of whether it wants to go for a more tempo aggressive build or whether it wants to sort of play a sort of more mid-rangey sort of build. Next, we have Restless Spirit SSB Vegeta, one of the more lesser rated super rares of this set. And I think kind of fairly enough so, even though I think this will be a fun card to play. So it's a 4 cost 20k with Double Strike, so that's pretty consistent from what we've seen. In addition, it's got ability of, when you play this card, reveal 1 card from the bottom of your deck. If that card is a Trunks Future with an energy cost of 3 or less, play that card and negate its activate skill for duration of the game. If it is any other card, place that at the bottom of your deck. So basically what it means is, when you put this Vegeta into play, look at the bottom of your card of the deck. If it's a Trunks, if it's a free cost Trunks or lower, then you can put it into play, and it basically gets no activate ability. So, but it still does get other abilities such as Double Strike, Dual Attack, etc., etc. So that's something interesting to note. So it only stops activate abilities. It doesn't stop like stuff that are permanent abilities or auto abilities. So that is something relevant to note. That being said, though, you can I only really foresee this card being consistently playable with Trunks Creator of the Future. So that's also displayed here. So yeah, so Trunks Creator of the Future is a free cost card. Activate main, place this card at the bottom of your deck, choose one Goku or Vegeta from your hand with an energy cost of 3 or less and play it. So this is the setup for Restless Spirit Vegeta. So you can put this Trunks at the bottom of your deck, guarantee for it to come back, even though it does come back as a 15,000 like vanilla card. That is not too terrible when you sort of consider that you're getting a double strike SSB Vegeta with this. So yeah, there is a bit of an engine with this Vegeta and the next Vegeta, but I don't think that this card will see too much play. It'll be a fun card, and definitely it will be like a really fun combo to pull off, but I don't think that this is going to see too much play. Next card is Vegeta the Proud Father. When you play this card with Trunks' Future skill, choose up to one opponent battle card and KO that card. So otherwise, it's a 3 for 15, and like I said, 3 for 15s are a little bit under curve. There's going to be a lot of 2 for 15s in this game from this set onwards. So I think playing it normally, it's going to be really tough, and it has effectively no ability. So you're paying 1 extra for nothing. But if you do get into play with Trunks' Creator of the Future's ability, you get to KO a opposing battle card. So that's pretty good within itself, because we're now seeing a lot of cards that around the 3 and 4 mark where they can just KO another battle card. And if you consider how relevant 4-cost Beerus was in set 1, and that Beerus was a 20k double striker and he was able to blow up one of your opponent's cards when he came into play, that was what a lot of decks, a lot of matchups were sort of were all about. So in the Vegeta versus Vegeta matchup, the game largely depended upon who had more Beeruses available, because your opponent will play Beerus, they attack you, you weak it, you play your Beerus, blow up their Beerus, and then attack them, they weak you, and it goes backwards and forwards until someone runs out of Beeruses, right? And so this gives other decks a lot more like other options when they don't want to use Beerus and so on. Or it just gives you extra Beeruses if you need. So removal always good. This card is a little bit conditional. Yeah, so that's something to note, and only really good with Trunks Creator of the Future. Now, definitely, yeah, there's definitely like obviously a synergy between these 3 cards of the 2 Vegetas and the Trunks. It does seem like a bit of a cumbersome sort of setup, but you can't really like deny that it's actually a lot of value if you do pull it off. So you get Trunks Creator of the Future, so it's a 15k. You can attack with him, deal 1 damage, so that's great. Or you can attack and blow up a rest mode guy, then use Trunks' ability to activate main, and then get another fresh 15k that can attack again, or be ready to combo. And when Vegeta comes into play, he also blows up a dude. So that's actually pretty good value for only 3 energy, and like kind of an extra card as well. So all in all, this is a fun combo, and when you do pull it off, it's going to be definitely going to be very entertaining to play and to deal with. But otherwise, from this very specific combo, which I'm not even sure is going to be like consistent enough, it's a definitely fun combo to play. Next, we have one of the super rares from the set. Trunks is a Constant Hope. So it's a 6-cost card at 25,000 power, which is about what you'd expect. It has Evolve, pay 5 for a future Trunks, so that's all right. It just means it comes in 1 turn cheaper, 1 energy cheaper. If both Son Goku and Vegeta are in your battle area or drop area, this card gains triple strike. So yeah, so that's a little bit annoying that he doesn't inherently have like double strike at least. Unlike say Awakening Rage Goku, who has double strike, and then if you have Krillin, he gets triple strike. Trunks the Constant Hope can only be triple strike when you have both Goku and Vegeta. But if you're playing like the Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, Save the Future deck, I think that this is going to be a very easy condition to pull off. Now, his auto ability is what really sets this card apart. So when this card attacks or is attacked, choose up to 1 blue battle card in your drop area and combo with it. So there are a lot of good synergies with this card. So obviously, the first thing that came to mind for everyone was boost attack Piccolo. So yeah, obviously whenever you combo with Piccolo, you draw a card plus 10,000. It's a free 10,000 draw card. It's what every deck runs pretty much 4 copies of, because there's no reason not to play. It's such a good card, or a good set of cards. So worst case scenario, if you have 4 life, boost attack Piccolo is just always going to be every time Trunks attacks or is attacked, draw a card. And effectively, Trunks is always 35,000, right? So that's like one thing to know. Another thing, like another card that also is relevant, is Unyielding Spirit Trunks. So during your turn, when you combo with this card, if your leader is blue, choose up to 1 energy and switch it into active mode. So yeah, so that's another great card to combo with this. Obviously, only if your leader is blue, but when you do it, it means that Trunks can effectively reactivate 1 energy per turn. And simply because, like, yeah, you always want to have like 1 or 2 energy open for your extra cards, for your counters, and so on. Being able to attack with Trunks, bump him up to say 30,000, even though you don't draw a card, but to reactivate energy is really good. It means that on the turn that you play Trunks, you're not sort of vulnerable and have no energy open. You can always sort of like use cards to combo, or you can use that one energy to use negate, such as with Weezes and so on. God damn. So, and yeah, obviously another card is Ultimate Judgment Jacko. Being able to combo with him and being able to put combo cards back to your opponent's hand is also pretty handy as well. So, yeah, this Trunks, I like him. He seems like fun, but is he consistent enough? Maybe. I don't think that this card is enough of a game ender, and I think that there's going to be a lot of removal in this game from the meta from now on, so I think that this card is going to be a little bit tough to try to push game with, but if you do get him around the mid game and your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with him, this card is just going to net you a lot of cards and a lot of engines. So I think this blue set of Trunks Vegeta cards are all about engineering and all about getting value, and yeah, I can definitely see it being a very relevant set of cards. Next, we have Trunks, Creator of the Future. So yeah, we've talked about this a lot. At any of your, during your turn, you can activate, put this card to the bottom of your deck and get a Goku or a Vegeta. The most common target is probably going to be Vegeta Proud Father, because you get a fresh 15k and you get it to blow up a dude. But that is not to say that you can't just play any number of the like Vegeta, Goku like cards that are free or less. So yeah, so that's always super handy. You do lose a card in order to do that, so basically sort of like getting rid of a card. But if you're playing 4-cost Vegeta, you can sort of net that card back. And if you're playing like Vegeta on turn 4 to get this Trunks back, you've got a fresh Trunks. So on your 5th turn, you can then use Hope of the Future to evolve into this card. So that's kind of like a good sort of ramp. So you got this on 3, then you got Vegeta on 4, and then you got Trunks on 5. That's a really nice ramp of constant pressure that you're putting down. So that's pretty good within itself. So yeah, so this card is only going to see play in that sort of engine. But I'd like to see really what's the sort of the top power level that a deck like this can reach, and I'm really interested to see like how it sort of plays out. Next, we have Unyielding Spirit Trunks. During a turn when you combo with this card, if your leader is blue, choose up to one of your NG and switch it into active mode. This card is unbelievably good. Everyone thought Sensu Beam was annoying in that it could reactivate energy and it gave plus 5,000 power for the turn. This card does get plus 5,000 for the turn, but you can combo it for free. So on defense, at worst, it's just a combo for 5,000. But if you do it on your turn, you reactivate energy, which may allow you to get more plays in during the turn, or allows you to keep energy open for counters and so on. So yeah, this card will be fun, and it'll be seeing a lot of play in blue decks. Unfortunately, it is locked to leader card blues only, so that's the only one unfortunate thing about him. But but in a lot of blue decks, this will see a lot of play, and this card's a very good card. Next, we have Bulma, Supporter of the Future. So this is kind of the complementary card to Bulma, God Tempter, in that. So when you put Bulma, Supporter of the Future in play, you may choose up to one Trunks Future with an energy cost of 4 or less from your deck and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So compared to Bulma, God Tempter, this Bulma has a lot more targets to deal with, to work with. So there's a lot of Trunks Future cards, both from set 1 and set 2, so you got a lot of targets. So obviously this can't get Trunks Hope for the Future, but I think pretty much anything besides from that, you can get pretty much any other future Trunks. So it gives you a lot of cards to work with. People like Bulma, God Tempter, and grab Weezes, and only had one target. This card will see equally as much play, especially in the Save the Future deck. Especially it's a 1-cost card, so that gives you like turn 1 plays. It nets your card back. It's a combo. There's no reason not to play this card. This card is fantastic. Next, we have Beerus, Essence of Destruction. So this card is a little bit complicated to break down, but I'll break it down, try break down as clear as possible. So it's a 4-cost card at 20,000 power, and it's double strike. So that's pretty standard. So when you play this card, your opponent chooses a number of cards in their hand equal to the number of battle cards in their battle area with an energy cost of 1 or less, and places the cards on top of their deck in any order. Your opponent then returns all of your battle cards with an energy cost of 1 or less to their hand. So, translation. Count how many 1-cost battle cards your opponent has. Your opponent puts that many cards from their hand to the top of their deck, then return all your opponent's 1-cost battle cards back to their hand. Right? So that's effectively what it says, and this card is effectively a counter to like blue Vegeta style decks where you're running like 8 to like 12 1-cost cards that are netting you cards. So stuff like Bulmas, stuff like Boos, stuff like Brawlies and so on. If your opponent's deck is running a lot of those cards and you are not forcing them to combo them away, then you can drop a Beerus on turn 4, effectively you just like reverse it, you reverse all that sort of work done. So it means that they put like an equal number of cards that they would have netted from those cards back to the top of their deck, and then they have to bounce those cards back to their hand. So on one hand, yes, it untempers your opponent a lot. On the other hand, yeah, they do get the opportunity to play those cards again, which, yeah, is both a pro and a con. This card I don't think we'll really see main deck play, but this card is going to be a card that sees a lot of side deck play. In certain matchups, this card is going to be abusively strong, especially if you're not running green, where green has a lot of ways to very efficiently and cheaply deal with cards that are one cost. This card is a way to just board wipe all of them, put them back to your opponent's hand, and then like basically get rid of a whole bunch of cards. Yeah, so this is gonna be relevant against like the yellow like Frieza leader deck. So for example, they play like Sorbets, they play Guldos, they play Avenging Freezers. So if your opponent just like has a whole bunch of one cost guys, you go send it all back, and then you lose like 4 cards or something. So that's, yeah, really strong as well. Yeah, so it's going to be a sideboard card because it's really good in certain matchups, but in other matchups it's not relevant at all. So it's definitely an excellent sideboard card. Next, we have Whis the Sacred Guard. So it's a 4 cost 20,000 blocker. So this is one of the larger blockers we've seen so far, because in the first set, besides from full power Frieza, we didn't really have any blockers outside the like 10 to 5k mark. So yeah, Whis is a big blocker at 20,000 power. It has a permanent. This card cannot be KO'd by opponent's card skills and does not leave the battle area due to skills. So that's a pretty strong ability within itself. That's a pretty strong ability within itself. It basically has the non-combat part of Invincible. So it means that you can put this guy as a blocker down, and you can just block a lot of your opponent's smaller attackers. You can block a lot of your opponent's smaller attackers, and yeah, this card is this card's a really good blocker. And your opponent can't use like removal abilities to get rid of him to then go through to your head. Additionally, this is another target for Bulma the God Tempter. So now you can run 4 Bulma God Tempters, and you can run, say, 3 of the old Whis, and say 1 or 2 of this Whis. So in towards the sort of mid to late game, and you don't want to pick up like the ramp Whis because you've already got plenty of energy, you can always put this Bulma down to get Sacred Blocker Whis and put him down. And so that's a good mid game play as well. So this card gives Bulma a lot of options, and the card's not bad by itself. Next card is Group Leader Pilaf. So it's a 1 cost 5,000 power battle card. Counter battle card attack. Play this card and choose 1 keyword skill of the attacking card and negate it for a duration of the turn. So what do I think about this card? I did win actually 1 card in the pre-release tournament with this card. So what this card says in regards to 1 keyword skill, these are removing, I believe, the red text keywords such as double strike, triple strike, dual attack, triple attack, critical, and technically it can remove revenge, although revenge isn't relevant in this case. So basically, this card allows you to basically reduce the amount of damage that you would take from like a double striker, or remove critical in that regard. So this card is going to have very interesting niche uses. I don't see this cards are really seeing any play right now. This is like a counter meta card. So if certain cards in the meta become really focused on specific keywords, where like, let's say if dual attack becomes a big thing, or let's say critical becomes a really big thing, which I can definitely see green being a really like strong critical deck, using Group Leader Pilaf as a card to just remove that ability from the attack is really good. If your opponent is attacking with a triple striker when you're on free life, so a lot of times when you're on free life, your opponent will want to try to push you to death using a triple striker and prevent you from taking those last 3 cards, or taking a whole bunch of cards from your life. This card can counter that triple striker and then make it like a single strike, and then you take 1 damage, which basically kind of mess around with your opponent's mass. In terms of how to lethal you out effectively from there. Being able to stop a dual attacker is pretty well. So basically, the dual attack will still get their first attack through, but they don't get the secondary attack. They don't reactivate. So this card will see its niche uses. It won't be a main deck card. It won't be a side deck card for a while until people really sort of figure out what the meta is. And once the meta is kind of more set, then this card will see more sideboard play to counter what the meta game is more set into. Next, we have Shu. It's a 2 cost 15,000 power vanilla card. This card won't see any play. There's no Earthling support. There's no Shu support. So maybe if there was some sort of Shu my Pilaf Trinity combo or some sort of value combo of that, then maybe this card will see play, but it won't see play because there isn't cards like that. You've already got 2 for 15 Vegeta, and you got 2 for 15 Vegeta already, and I think you got a 2 for 15 Goku. No, so you got Rapid Spirit Ball Goku. So you've got a Vegeta in this slot. You've got Trunks and Gotens in this slot, and they've got support, and there's like reason to use those. So there's no reason to use Shu. There's no reason to use Shu. Even worst case scenario, you'd rather have a Goten or a Trunks, because if you play like that 4-cost rare Goku where you have to discard 2 Saiyans from your hand to reduce its cost, you can at least discard Trunks and Goten because they're Saiyans. You can't discard Shu. The only reason to play Shu is because you want to attack your opponent with like a cute dog for memes, like doggo memes where you're losing from Shu, which is probably, would I rate it higher or lower than getting memed by Yamcha death? Actually, I think it's a higher meme than getting killed by Yamcha, actually. But yeah, won't see play really. Next we have Mai, Supporter of Hope. So this is so it's yet another one of those cards that are the 2 cost 5,000 blockers that come in free if a specific card is in play. So for this Mai, if you have Trunks Future in your battle or leader area, you may play this card for free, and it's a blocker. Now, do note that this card is character Mai Future. So it's a separate character than just like Child Mai. It's Mai Future. Not that that's really any sort of relevance at this stage right now. Yeah, so if you have Trunks Future, then you can put it into play for free. So obviously, this is most likely going to go into Trunks Hope for the Future deck. I'm still not really sort of set on these free blockers. My perspective is that a lot of this cycle of cards are going to depend on the other support cards in the set and whether they need those cards. So for example, like if you're playing like a green deck or a yellow deck where you do have a tendency to sacrifice your other cards, then definitely having free cards to just sacrifice for free is really handy. But because blue seems to be a much more supportive type strategy, I'm not sure about it. Plus, like, blue always has pretty good defense, so it's not like you really need that much more defense to add on top of the deck already. So I don't really think that this card will really see too much play. If you have space in the deck, I do foresee it just being slotted in as like a 2 of, simply because I think there are probably going to be other more relevant things that you want to be chucking into your deck. Next, we have Power of Mai. So it is just a 2-cost 10k blocker. Again, like, we don't really see too many of the 2-cost 10k blockers, and now we have a lot more choice in terms of which blockers we want to play. This card isn't really going to see any constructed play. Unless we see some sort of Shu Pilaf Mai support, but I'm still skeptical that that's going to happen. Next, we have Courageous Heart Yajirobe. So this is a blocker, and it's got Revenge. It's a 2 for 5. So the big difference between this card is that you're paying 1 extra over the 1-cost 5k blockers for it to have Revenge. Now that really does increase the value of this card a lot, because Revenge is such a strong ability. It's such a strong ability. Even if the attacker wins, the attacker still blows up as well. In this current metagame, it may be less good because there are a lot of cards right now in the set that have either invincible or this card can't be destroyed by abilities and so on. So that's the sort of like con to this card, but I think that this card's a strong card. It like has a tendency to really sort of brick wall your opponent in terms of if they have a big threat, you having a single Yajirobe can really sort of hinder that big threat from being able to attack through. So this card is a very psychological mental game. It does require planning, but the value that it brings and the sort of way it forces your opponent to play is actually quite valuable. So yeah, it won't be like an instant 4 of. I'm not even sure if it'll be a 3 of, but this card should see niche play in blue decks. Next, we have Tiny Heroes Haru and Maki. It's a 1-cost 1,000 power character. When you play this card, choose one of your other battle cards against plus 1,000 power for each energy for the duration of the turn. Now, this card, it's really hard to say like why this card was even sort of created. Definitely, it's kind of like a cool reference to the series and so on. But in terms of power level, it does seem very lacking, or it does seem very cumbersome. So yeah, you can like, if you compare this card to say like any sort of other low cost card where it's pay 0 to combo for 5,000, you can always do that. You can always play this card and then combo for 5,000 as well. So that's like another relevant thing. It gives you guys plus 1,000 power for every energy that you have. So that can be generally, I foresee it. So it's only really kind of effective from like 5k onwards. So it's from 5 energy onwards. give a guy a 5 to 7 or 8,000 power boost, and then you can also combo this card as well. So it does give you a little bit more value than, like, say, just discarding a card and comboing for 10,000, because this card will probably give maybe 13 or 14,000 of like total value in terms of, if you play it, your guy gets like maybe 7 to 8,000 power, and then you combo it later for another 5,000, so that's like 13,000 worth of value. So that's just a little bit more than just like discarding a card and spending the 1 energy you would have used anyways. So in that regard, this card does give you more efficiency, or does give you a little bit extra value, but it's kind of cumbersome, and I'm not really sure that's sort of what I want to do. Potentially, if we do see sort of blue decks, if we do see sort of blue decks that have kind of extra energy around the sort of mid game, because they, like, let's say they want to play a high concentration of 4s, so around the 5, 6, 7 energy mark. Playing 4s, they play a 4 and they have extra energy open, and they can't really use all that extra energy to play another 4. You can definitely chuck down like a Tiny Hero, Harumaki, give a guy a little bit extra of a like power bump, send them in, and then you've always got this 5,000 available. That being said, I think most cases you're probably going to want to just play like energy boosted Boo. So this card really doesn't really sort of beat what Boo brings to the table. Next, we have Unstoppable Despair Goku Black Rose. So it's evolved for 3 blues and 1, so it's evolved 7. It's an 8 cost normally. Triple Strike, so that's obviously a very strong ability. When a card evolves into this card, if your leader is Goku Black, choose up to 3 of your opponent's energy and place them into the drop area. So this, I think, is a very, very strong game-ending card. So being able to take away 3 of your opponent's energy depends, like how relevant that is, depends on what time of the game it is. The earlier in the game that you pull this off, the much more penalizing this is. So for example, being able to push your opponent from, say, 10 energy to 7 energy, not as bad, because your opponent can still play a lot of stuff. Pushing your opponent from 7 energy to 4 energy is pretty severe, and if you play it any earlier than that, which is possible in blue ramp, especially if you've got the Goku Black leader, you can get this out like on your 4th, 5th turn, where your opponent's got like maybe 4 energies, push them all the way back from 1 to 2 energy, and your opponent pretty much loses the game, because you'll have like 5 or 6 energy at that stage, and your opponent goes back to 2. Your opponent's not going to really be able to put down any major threat, and you kind of just win the game from there. So I like how this card ends the game. It's a very immediate game-ending type ability, but there are some caveats to it. So one, you have to evolve it into a Goku, and so this very much reminds us of what Hit brought to the table in set 1, and that Hit was like, when you evolve like 2 cost Hit into this Hit, and your opponent takes 2 damage. So a lot of times that was sort of a pseudo game ender, in that you put your opponent to 2 damage, or put your opponent to 2 life, and then you're always threatening being able to evolve into Hit to finish them from the game. This card kind of does it differently, in that if your opponent's energy is low, this effectively push them out of the game. It similarly to Hit, it doesn't have that many other cards that it can sort of evolve from, and that's the biggest problem with this. So, and that's the biggest problem with Hit, because Hit could only evolve from the 2 cost Hit, and you only had 4 of them in deck, right? Now this card has a very similar issue in that there only have 2 Goku Blacks. So the one in the set is Warrior of the Gods Goku Black, so that's a 2 cost 10k. And the only other Goku Black is a promo, so it's a promo pack promo, which is going to be quite difficult to get. Although the promo Goku Black does have some synergies with this Goku Black, so there is some value there. But yeah, so I really like this card. I don't think it's going to be consistent enough to be good. I want to build a deck around this, because like I think to myself, hey, like if you are playing Goku Black at 2 energies, you can objection. Next turn you can put a Whis down, and then like the following turn that would mean you're up to like what, 5 energy or something, and then like you can put an energy down, then use Goku Black's ability, pull a life from your energy, that's 7 energy, and it's like your 4th turn, and then you can evolve into Goku Black Rose, and then just like blow up your opponent's energy, they go back down to like 1 energy, and then they put an energy for the turn, so effectively 2 energies in hand. So yeah, so definitely this card, when you do pull this off, your opponent's just going to rage at how bullshit this card feels, but I don't think you're going to pull it off too consistently, and there are too many ways to sort of like mess around the deck. And the biggest issue is that Goku Black's ability to pull life into the energy can only be done while he's not activated yet, so or he hasn't awakened yet. So yeah, this card seems like fun. Build a fun deck around it. It'll be like really fun deck to play. It may be tier 1.5, almost pushing tier 1 if you can like get it more consistent enough, but I don't think right now it's got enough tools to be effective. Next, we have 2-cost Warrior of the Gods Goku Black, 10,000 power, so that's pretty standard. Yeah, pretty standard. Permanent. If Zamasu is in your battle area, this card cannot be KO'd by opponent's skills and does not leave the battle area due to skills. So yeah, so this card can be destroyed by battle, so that's something to note. So if your opponent does have any of those cards that rest mode 2-cost like Guldo and so on, he can be destroyed by battle. Yeah, so in addition to this, like kind of this card by itself is not a good turn 2 play. You kind of want to like play it while you already have Zamasu on the field. So if you're playing a Zamasu on turn 3 and then you play this on your like 4th turn, then this would be like a fine play, I feel. But yeah, this card's main value is the fact that you need it to either Patara Fusion or you need it to evolve Goku Rosé. So other than that, this card will see play because it's needed in those decks, but it's not a good card within itself. Next card is Zamasu, the Alert God. So it's got Evolve 5. It's a 6-cost, indestructible. So this card cannot be carried by your opponent's card skills or battle and does not leave the battle area. So that pretty much means it cannot be removed from the field unless your opponent has like Zeno, but I'll get to that. So unless your opponent has a way to remove this card's abilities, there's no way to get rid of this card off the field unless your opponent combos with it, which they're never going to do anyways. It's got an auto ability of when your opponent's card attacks. So that's interesting because it says when your opponent's card, so it doesn't specify battle card. So it could be battle card or leader card. So there will need to be some clarification on that. But it looks like at this stage it probably includes leader cards as well. If your leader card is Zamasu or Goku Black, which is the only leaders you'll be playing this card with, you may place one card from your hand into drop area. If you do this, if you do negate that attack and negate this skill for the duration of the turn. So what that means is this card can during your opponent's turn, you can discard a card during your opponent's turn to negate an attack. I assume like all other negate attacks, it still allows their on attack triggers to activate. So there's that issue. Then again, this card can effectively allow you to convert any card from your hand into like a negate attack, which is actually a really strong ability as well. So this is actually probably one of the strongest control cards we have, I think possibly in the game at all, in the sense that this card's indestructible if you're playing one of these leaders, and it basically allows you to convert any card from your hand into a negate attack. And negate attacks are extremely strong because if you are running any sort of card that can sort of turn around and have kill a dude on entry, then this card's going to combo very well into that as well. So yeah, this card is quite strong. At 6, it's a little bit expensive and doesn't have double strike at all, so that's a little bit of a sort of kick in the teeth, but this deck seems to be a control deck. It's going to go for the long game, so yeah, I definitely do feel that this card not having double strike isn't too severe. Next, we have Zamasu the Invincible. It's a 4-cost 15,000, so this is below the curve. It does have indestructible though, so that's pretty handy. And if your leader is Zamasu or Goku Black, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand or the battle area by 1. So effectively, it's a 3-cost 15,000 invincible, which is pretty good actually. So yeah, 15,000 just means that it can always pressure your opponent. Your opponent's leader at 15,000 is always going to be pressurable by this card, and yeah, it's indestructible. So it's one of those cards where you can attack your opponent's 15Ks and don't have to worry about being hit back. So this card is really strong, only if you're playing the Zamasu or Goku Black leader. So yeah, this card's great. It's a great sort of vanilla card. It's very much one of those like 3-cost 15,000s with like a really good ability. Probably on a similar level to like a critical Vegeta or critical Goku in that regard. So yeah, this card's quite good. Next, we have Infinite Force Fuse Zamasu. So it's a 10-cost card, but you can Union Patara it for 3 blues and 4. So you can Union Patara it for 7 energy with Goku Black and Zamasu. It's got indestructible, like pretty much all the Zamasu cards. When this card attacks, choose up to 1 card each from your opponent's battle area. So battle cards only in their battle area, energy, life, and hand, and place them at the bottom of their deck in any order. So something to note, this card, like even though this card doesn't have double strike or triple strike, which is what you would expect from a card of this like cost and size, in effect it has pseudo double strike, or basically it already gets rid of one of your opponent's life whenever it attacks, irrespective of whether the attack is successful or not. So it's kind of got that already, but at the same time it's kind of got like kind of crits one of them away. So yeah, so as soon as this card attacks, your opponent loses 1 life. It goes to the bottom of the deck. It doesn't go to their hand. Yeah, then your opponent loses a dude, loses a card from their hand, and loses an energy. So this is one of those cards where if this card's out for like even say 2 turns, you've probably won the game. Yeah, and that's sort of like really the sort of goal that sort of the Zamasu deck is trying to sort of build around. Get Infinite Force Fuse Zamasu out as soon as possible, and then just basically your opponent will just have to pressure. You have to win. Your opponent has to win like the next 2 or 3 turns. Otherwise, this card is just going to, out resource them so hard. And the fact that he's indestructible is really strong as well, which means that only blue has counters to this card in the form of Mafuba or Zeno. But yeah, this card is actually really quite strong, and I think we might see this guy seeing more and more play. He is quite a difficult card to get into, but as soon as he like comes out, this card is going to be pressuring your opponent really hard. Next, we have God of the Gods, Great Priest. So it's a 7-cost double strike at 20,000, so it's a little bit expensive, but when you play this card, if your leader card is God, which pretty much right now is Zamasu, Goku, Beerus, Champa, Vados, I think that's pretty much it. So pretty much blue and red only have the god leaders. Choose any number of other gods in your battle areas and add them to your energy in rest mode. So this is a really strong ramp card in the sense that a lot of cards in this game, especially from blue, are gods. So Piccolo's a god, Whis is a god, Beerus is a god, Zamasu is a god. I think Goku Black might be a god. I'm not sure. I have to check that one. But there's a lot of gods in this game right now. Even Red has some gods in terms of Vados. So Vados, all the Vadoses are gods. All the Champas are gods. So you can have a lot of gods in between blue and red. And this basically allows you to convert any number of them into energy. And so the great thing about this card is, like, if you're playing a blue deck and you're ramping with Whis, you can play Bulma and then get like 2 or 3 Whis down. I've definitely been in situations where I've played hard control Beerus last set where I've had like 3 Whis down and I've had like plenty of energy. But I was at like 8 or 9-ish energy, and it would have just been really good to be able to get some value out of those Whis and quickly ramp up to like 12 energy where I could play a Whis or to like kill my opponent using Beerus' ability. And this card allows you to ramp into that really quickly. So in between all your Whis and stuff, you can get like anywhere between 2 to like 5 energy with this card. Immediately. They do come in rest mode, otherwise that'd be a little bit unfair. This card will see niche plays in very fun specific combo decks. I like this card. Not going to see a lot of mainstream play, but definitely there will be times where your opponent can just like pull games out of nowhere because they ramped up to like 12 or 16 energy and just win the game from there. So this card will be a fun card. Next, we have Zeno, the Plain God. When you play this card, negate all other battle card skills, then choose all cards in both players' hands, as well as all other battle cards, and return them to their decks. Shuffle both decks afterwards, then both players draw 5 cards. So effectively, this is kind of like the Fiber Jar of this game. So Fiber Jar was a Yu-Gi-Oh card that basically did the same thing. So yeah, it wipes the board clean of all battle cards. Fill cards will say that, apparently. So it wipes the board clean. Both players shuffle their hands into the deck and then draw 5 cards as well. So yeah, this is kind of a board wipe, a pseudo board wipe. You do get a 15k out of it, but on the downside is your opponent now has... So you spent a lot of energy to put this guy down, which is effectively a 2-cost card. So you effectively like put a 2-cost card down, and then you spent 5 energy to wipe the board and wipe hands, right? So this is handy if you've got low cards in hand, and you've like played a deck that really sort of burns out, and your opponent's playing an aggressive deck. You can wipe their board. The problem with this card is that it's now effectively your opponent's turn, because you basically don't really have any much more energy to work with, and your opponent is going to like draw their 1 card. They're going to have 6 cards in hand, and they're going to be able to play a lot of stuff down, and you'll probably tap that, or you don't have a lot of energy to defend against this as well. Also, interestingly enough to note, this card is combo 0 for 0. So this card, Zeno can't actually combo. So, well, technically he can combo, but he combos for 0 power. So yeah, so after you play this card, you don't really have any defenses to go for, except for discarding cards from your hand, and that is not a good position to be in. However, this is literally the only card that can permanently get rid of indestructible cards. So yeah, blue decks are just going to have to put this card into their sideboard in case Zamasu becomes relevant enough in the metagame. Next, we have Universe 10 Supreme Kai Gowasu. So this is the Avenging Frieza for Gods. So at 1 cost, 5,000 power, when you play this card, look at the top 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 God monster and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Yeah, so this, yeah, like I was saying, there's plenty of gods. Piccolo's a god, so both Taunting Piccolo and Boost Attack Piccolo and the new Piccolo, they're all gods. I suppose because after he fused with Kami, he's a god now. So by that fact alone, there's a lot of good cards that this card can innately search for. Plus, like, yeah, if you're running like Zamasu stuff, or if you're running like even Champa stuff, really, you can pull out God. So I think the number like that you really want to sort of hit is like around 20 to like sort of 25 gods in your deck. Any lower than that, and I think that this card doesn't consistently pull off its effect. The problem with this card is that, like a lot of those, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you're not getting a very large sample size of your deck. So it's very easy for just, like, even though you say, oh yeah, half my deck is gods, amongst 3 cards out of a like 50 card deck, those 3 cards can very easily be just 3 cards from the other 50%, you know, like statistically it is like quite possible. And yeah, so like when I do want to play this card, I do want to have like maybe 80% chance or quite a solid chance of getting at least 1 god. So in order to play this card, I think you'd really want to be aiming to have more gods in your deck. If not, just like, why not play NG boosted Boo? You know, like, why not just play the 1-cost Boo that draws you a card guaranteed every single time? So yeah, so you really have to be building around the god effect, and you're probably already playing 4 Boos in order to add this on top. So yeah, I don't think that this card is particularly good, especially when you got Boo already, and that's the big problem. Boo, just such a good unconditional card, and this card doesn't really add that much to like the deck. Next, we have Returning Evil Golden Frieza. So it's a 5-cost, 25,000 power attacker, 25,000 power battle cards, double strike. When you play this card, choose one of your battle cards and return to your hand. Then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and place it at the bottom of their deck. Cards stacked under the cards are placed in the drop area. So, a couple of things. So Returning Evil Golden Frieza. There are some pros and cons to it. So one is that it is able to deal with your opponent's battle cards. Anything that's got any sort of battle resistance, such as like revenge or like having high stats or can't be KO'd in combat. This can all deal with that. Also, some cards that say cannot be KO'd by opponent's card effects. This will also handle that as well. So being able to put stuff to the bottom of your opponent's deck, in all cases except for like the Vegeta Trunks synergy, is usually pretty much just like eliminate them from the game. Pretty much eliminate them from the game, or it's effectively like KOing them. But it's probably a little bit better in that they don't really sort of get any sort of KO pile sort of ability. So this card is actually like pretty decent. You do have to return one of your battle cards to hand. So something to note is that Returning Evil Golden Frieza can return itself. So effectively, you can pay 5 to put this down, choose one of your battle cards, return it to your hand, and basically get rid of one of your opponent's battle cards. So this card is basically a card that can infinitely loop you in a way to remove your opponent's stuff. So that's a strong control control combo card within itself. So it's kind of like a renewable resource. In addition, it also combos really well with like all the 1-cost cards, such as like your Bulmas or Kansei and Gokus, or NG boosted Boost, where it allows you to return one of those cards instead. Keep this guy as a 25,000 double striker, and be able to renew those like cheap cards with strong enter play abilities, and to be able to use them again. Even stuff like being able to return that 3-cost Future Trunks back to your hand, so you can play it again and get its activate ability again. So that's another handy thing that this card can do. This card is definitely going to be like more niche play, so I don't see it seeing like more than say 2 cards in deck, 2 copies per deck, unless you're really sort of building a specific strategy where you're just trying to loop Golden Freeze again and again to just get rid of your opponent's guys, and while you're setting up a good sort of defense. That being said, I think that this card will see play in certain control decks. This is very much a control card. Next, we have Father Son Gallic Gun. So it's a 2-cost extra card, activate main. Choose up to one opponent's battle card and return to your hands. Cards stacked underneath the cards are placed in the drop area. So, returning cards to your opponent's hand. So it's effectively like a stereotypical blue bounce card. I don't know why, but like pretty much every game, bounce effects are always under blue for some reason, right? And this game's no different. So effectively, yeah, just bounces one of your opponent's battle cards back to their hand. Typically, this isn't so good because your opponent can just always play them down again, and you've kind of like lost card advantage to do that. And this card isn't particularly cheap to do that. So at 2, it's almost borderline cost effective enough, but at 1, it'd be quite good. At 2, it's kind of like not super efficient enough to auto include it. So I think that's kind of the drawback of this. In addition, it's activate main, so it's not like you can do it like as a counter or something. It'd be as a counter, that'd be great. Like, I would like this card very much as a counter, but activate main, it's a little bit underpowered. And yeah, so that's kind of the problem. But the main value of this card is that a lot of cards in this set have synergies with having cards underneath them. And so one of the examples are like the Majin Boos, especially like Prodigy Majin Buu and Grand Evil Majin Buu. Those are both cards that rely on having Gotenks or Gohan underneath them in order to like get additional abilities. And so using Father Son Gallic Gun can put them back to your opponent's hand, and basically it crumbles the entire stack. So they lose all the other cards. And the top card is generally not nearly as good unless he has cards underneath. Other cards that this card might be relevant against are like stuff like Cells, where they have an entire stack of cards to put onto a card, bounce it, and then they lose everything. And like again, it's relevant against Vegeto's as well. So being able to just like break the stack, bounce the top card, which is usually a very expensive card that they got in at a discount. This card will see a lot of like this card will see some sideboard play depending on what the meta is. So blue has a lot of the strong anti-meta cards, and I think that's why I think blue is going to continue being a very popular color. Next we have Mafuba. So Mafuba is counter battle card attack. Negate the attack and place this card on top of the attacking card. At the end of your opponent's next turn, place this card and only this card in the drop area. As long as this card is stacked on top of another card, that card is not treated as a battle card, and its skill cannot be activated. So, couple of things. So first of all, it's a 2-cost negate attack, but compared to, say, Whis' Coercion, no, Whis' Assistance? Is it Whis' Coercion? I think it's Whis' Coercion. No, it's Vast Assistance and Whis' Coercion. Yeah, I'm right. So compared to Whis' Coercion, this negates effectively 2 attacks from the attacker. So basically negates this attack and then negates the attack they would have had next turn. So that's pretty good. But it doesn't deal with the card. So yeah, that's pretty understandable. The most relevant thing about this card though is that it seems from the way that this card is worded, it does not trigger its like on attack abilities. So like cards like Beerus General Destruction or any of the other cards that have on attack triggers, this may prevent them. I think from the wording of it's not treated as a battle card and its skill cannot be activated. I think that's what that means. Definitely we're gonna have to wait on the FAQs to sort of confirm that. But if that is the case, then this card will also see sideboard play just for any sort of decks that really rely heavily on the like attack trigger type abilities in the game. Even stuff like, so yeah, like let's say if your opponent plays the 10 cost Fuse Zamasu, they attack you, Mafuba it, you basically stop that guy from attacking for 2 turns, and you don't have to discard or get rid of all those cards that he would have like triggered on his attack. So that's something to note. Yeah, this card is strong. I like this card. So definitely it's going to be a very difficult like task to determine whether you want to play Mafubas or Whis' Coercions or what extra cards you want to put in your deck, because now there are quite a lot of good extra cards in blue. But that's good. It means that there's always going to be choices and always going to be options. And I think this is going to be like at least sideboarded like 2 copies of, depending on like what strategies that you're up against. You just hold them against certain big decks that want to play that big like Zamasu or big like Jiren or a big like Majin Buu. So you basically do it to just like deal with one particular really annoying attacker. And this card is strong. Next we have Time Ring. Look at the top 10 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 Goku Black or Zamasu. If you have 4 more energy, if you have a Goku Black, if you have 4 more energy, choose 2 instead. Add the choose. Okay, so it's not even me. Add the chosen 2 to. Basically, it says look at 10 cards from the top of your deck. Choose 1 Goku Black or Zamasu, or if you have 4 more energy, choose 2 and put them into your hand. These guys need better translators. So yeah. This card, yeah, it's obviously only going to be played in the Goku Black Zamasu deck. 2 costs to get you 2 guys is not bad. You'll see play. That's pretty much it. It'll see play. It's fine. Not getting a body when you're playing a 2-cost card that gets you card advantage is a little bit annoying. So it's not like a Boo. It's not like a Android 20 or something. So you're not getting a body while you're searching for cards. But yeah, this card is otherwise fine. It gives you a pretty deep search. So 10 cards as opposed to standard 7 cards is actually quite a lot. And getting to pick out 2 for 2 energy is not too bad as well. So it's not a terrible card. It will see play. Next, we have a card that I think is way better, is Trunks' Time Machine. So if your leader is Trunks Future, look at the top 10 cards of your deck, choose 1 Goku, Vegeta, or Future Trunks, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you have 4 more energy, choose 1 of your energy and switch it into active mode. So effectively, what this card does is yeah, it looks at top 10 cards and allows you to get like any of the save the future guys. Or if you have if you have 4 more energy, this card's effectively a free card. Or if you have 4 more energy, you can use it to reactivate one of your different color energies. You know, do a little bit of like energy reactivation mixing around. So that's pretty handy as well. This card is great. No reason not to run it. The only reason you wouldn't run it is if your deck is low on space. But yeah, that's not an issue at all. Even worst case scenario, you just play it on like 1 energy on your first turn to like look at top 10 cards. That's fine, because like let's say if you want to like trigger off a chain combo of getting that Trunks and like I forget which Trunks it is, that future Trunks, and you want to combo with like Proudfather Vegeta, or you want to combo with the like 4-cost Vegeta. This card will allow you to search for the combo piece that you need to complete that combo. Very early on, very cheaply. If you do it after turn 4 onwards, it's a free card. And so, yeah, this card's always going to allow you to help search for answers for your deck. So it's a strong card. It's free. No reason not to play it. The only tough card about this card is finding the space to play it, because there are so many good blue cards. And the final card is Zeno Button. So it's a 0-cost counter, and it obviously has no specific cost because it's 0 cost. Switch all your blue energy to active mode, counter attack. Yeah, so a couple of interesting things to note with this card. So first of all is you can only activate 1 counter attack per attack. So you can't use this Zeno button to counter an attack and then use your active blue energy to use like a proper counter or like an actual counter. This actually takes up the counter attack timing that you would otherwise play other counters with. So you can't use this card to reactivate energy and play other counters. So effectively what this card does is reactivates your blue energy and basically gives you more energy to combo with against your opponent. Now, this does have relevance in blue because blue is a rampier deck, so you do find that a lot more of the cards in the deck all are of the like cost 1 10,000 combo type. So this can be relevant as like a worst case scenario where your opponent will want to try to like all in you. You can play Zeno button, reactivate 5 energy, and your opponent may then have to double or like consider again whether they want to discard the entire hand to sort of combo you like to death. At the same point, if they are attacking you with their first attack and it's a weaker attack and they have a whole lot of other attacks that they want to finish you off with, using Zeno button reactivates all your energy, and it kind of makes them like hesitate in regards to their secondary attacks or their other attacks. Gives you more energies to deal with them. Yeah, whether you want to play other counters or whatnot. So yeah, it does only reactivate blue energy, which I think is kind of fair. Otherwise, potentially we might see like some bullshit combos of like yellow and so on that could really sort of abuse this like counter type thing. So yeah, so I don't think this card is particularly good. I think it's a little bit overrated. Do note you cannot counter your own attacks with this. So you cannot like declare an attack and say I counter the attack with your own card. So it has to be one of your opponent's attacks as well. One thing I do want to note, and I think that this is like an interesting little timing issue or interesting little descriptive issue of this game is one card. Actually, there's still one way to negate attacks, even though you use Zeno button, and that is Zamasu, the Alert God, actually. So its auto ability, it's an auto ability, it's not a counter ability. So when your opponent attacks, you can, discard a card to negate the attack. I do believe, actually, if you use Zeno button as your counter attack, Zamasu still triggers off, and you can still use Zamasu's ability to negate the attack. So it's potentially possible to see Zeno button in like a Zamasu deck, to reactivate energies and to allow you to still be able to block deadly attacks using Zamasu. So that's a little handy thing to note as well. So yeah, that is our set review for the blue cards of set 2 Union Force. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I sort of like highlight some of the interesting parts of this set. Gave you guys some ideas of what sort of decks to build and sort of how they can combo into each other. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching to the end. If you have any questions or comments, please leave feedback in the comments. I do try my best to answer everything. And then if you like my content, I'll be doing a lot more Dragon Ball Super content in the future. I'll be doing some deck stuff, and I've even got some other like side videos planned as well for Dragon Ball Super. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying it, please subscribe. It really does help the numbers, and it really helps me build engagement and more viewability. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Grand J out.